All right, so it's come to this, a video about Saturday morning cartoons. Okay, well, I'm not going to go into the history of Saturday morning cartoons because plenty of people have done that, and it's been covered. It's an important part of history, it's an important part of pop culture, and I, for one, feel very lucky to have grown up during this time period. Actually, if you want a good background, History Guy, one of my favorite channels on YouTube, shocker, just did a Saturday morning cartoon video. So, yeah, I recommend checking it out. He did a whole good history of it, and I've already covered kind of the whole thing about the 1980s, about why we got so much cartoon and toy content. And that's kind of where we left off. We left off with the idea that there was concern from parent groups about this. Now, obviously, parents using televisions to, babysit kids has been an issue since, well, television came around in the 1950s. The one thing that's the most important here is parenting. I'm a big proponent of parenting, and we're going to return to that. Parents having concerns about violence in cartoons is obviously was the genesis of a lot of what boiled over into this cartoon slash toy marriage, which was basically solidified when Reagan vetoed certain legislation and allowed the FCC to no longer regulate in the same way. Essentially, this allowed cartoons to have toys directly based on them. And there were parenting groups very concerned that these were now just animated TV commercials for toys, that the kids were just sitting down absorbing a half an hour of a TV commercial, and we're now going to go out and buy all of those toys based on what they just saw. And this was the concern. This is what drove all of the parenting groups in the 80s to form all of this, well, to lobby for legislation that was going to help break this. So Reagan basically by allowing the FCC to be deregulated, birthed this. But then once he was out of office in 1990, it all basically collapsed. And that golden period that gave us the three greats, Transformers, Masters of the Universe, and of course, Pac-Man. Oh, okay, I'm kidding, not Pac-Man, obviously. G.I. Joe is the other one, but Pac-Man was good too. As toy fans, we got the best stuff during this period. And having toys based on such awesome content, I mean, why is that a bad thing? That's the question I want to ask in this video. The concern has always been, 1980s animation is just a commercial to get you to buy toys. Here I am playing with my He-Man toys, my best friend Sean with a Spider-Man shirt. But these are some of my best memories, watching He-Man cartoons and playing with the toys. And when you saw your toy show up, like if it was a guest star or it was a vehicle or something, wow. I mean, that was an amazing, magical moment. Getting to watch your action figures on TV. But the fact that there's toys now based on this, that concern is what boggles my mind, because kids should be playing with toys. Playing an open-ended play, which is the play pattern where there's not really rules. You just go in and it's like, okay, you're going to make up the story, as opposed to something like a board game, if you will. So open-ended play is so important for children, building not only imaginations, but just connections to the world and relations with each other. Their understanding of the world comes through open-ended play, and action figures help with this. And guess what? Content has been selling toys since TV was around, since we had content. I mean, the generation in the 80s that was pushing back against toys and content sure had plenty of, Davy Crockett and Howdy Doody dolls to play with back in the 1950s. So yeah, content has always driven, toys or any merchandise. I mean, if you want to make action figures based on books and heroes from literature, I'm all in. If you're saying, action figures need to come from a source that's more esteemed than TV, so let's go books. Where's my Iliad action figures? Where's my Ivanhoe action figures? My Three Musketeers? My Sherlock Holmes? There's plenty of heroes from books, but books are more of an individual medium. And while I've always thought it'd be great to have action figures of public domain heroes, if you will, the problem is it's not like mass culture with TV and movies where everyone's experiencing it together. Like with Star Wars, it's the perfect example. The original movie, 1977, wasn't put out to sell toys. It did sell toys, In fact, no one wanted to license it because it was a world people wanted to play in. And that's where parenting comes from. Being able to recognize your kids' interests and let them play in those worlds, and toys let you play in these worlds. That's why you should always parent your child. Like, there's nothing more important than that. And the pushback that happened in the 80s, that it was like a sin to make an animated series content that then had a toy, that created such wonderful things and wonderful IP and wonderful characters and so many fun toy play memories. And right there, I think, is the key. Because if you're playing with an action figure or a toy, you're not watching TV. You're doing something healthier.
The hat goes on the head. It's all so obvious now.
So I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd love to talk about this in the comment section. I think this could be a whole real big discussion, because the pushback against toys based on animated content from the 80s, that was a bad thing. To me, it created my best memories, and I'm sure a lot of yours too. This is I think part of a bigger conversation. So I'm glad to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing, and I'll see you guys next time.